Hello friends, and welcome back to the final reseller recap video of the year 2022, and also my final video of the year 2022. If you're new here, hi, my name's Veronika. I'm a part-time reseller. I sell mostly on Poshmark, eBay, Mercari, and Depop, and over the past 5 days, I decided to recap the year 2022 in reselling for myself and my own business. We looked at naughty and nice brands on my list. We looked at my best sales. We also talked about my relationship with ThredUp and whether that relationship is still fruitful or not. And then we also talked about brands I would love to find next year in 2023, and also brands I hope to find this past year in 2022 and whether or not I found them. So I will link all those videos down below. I also have a whole playlist that you can click on. I will link that up here, and I hope you will check it out. Today we're going to talk about my reselling business, how it went in 2022, and what I hope to achieve next year. Alright friends, let's get started. If you're brand new here, my name's Veronika. I'm a part-time reseller. I sell primarily clothing and shoes and sometimes accessories, and I've been reselling since the very end of 2019. Really 2020 is when I started, and so I have been doing that for 3 whole years at this point. I started my channel 2 years ago, so ever since then I documented this journey on YouTube as well, and I had some milestones along the way that we're going to talk about today. But specifically I would like to focus today on some of my numbers for 2022, but also talk about how this year has been for me reselling wise, and also a little bit recapping how it's been for me personally and what I look forward to in 2023, what I hope to achieve, and what my general outlook is on the next year, especially when it comes to reselling, but also my personal life as it sort of ties into reselling. So let's start with some numbers and just talk about how this year has gone for me reselling wise. There have been a lot of changes in my private life. I'll say more about that later, but if you've been here for a while, you already know that. There have been lots of changes, and of course that had an effect on my reselling business as well. I have not been able to dedicate quite as much time to reselling as I previously did. I have less opportunity to go sourcing. I've been sourcing more from ThredUp, which has been great overall. If you saw yesterday's video, you already know that. But overall, it's definitely been a struggle to stay consistent with reselling, and I do have that in mind when I look at my numbers. However, also looking at my numbers, I know it's not just me who has, slacked off or has not done her part. It's also some of my platforms, one in particular, and we are going to call her out. But just to frame all of this a little bit, let's talk about numbers for this year. I didn't break it down into every single category and all the nitty-gritty. I just looked at my Vendu and looked at my total profit after platform fees, after shipping, and after cost of goods. So how much money actually went into my bank account this year from reselling. So the number that Vendu gave me was $10,486.79. Hopefully, if I make like another sale, that will go up to $10,500. But overall, that's what I made, in profit from my reselling business. Is that a good number? Some might say, yes, absolutely. It's this your part-time hustle, and you just said you haven't been able to dedicate as much time to your business. And yeah, it's definitely money that's much needed, and that has helped me tremendously with paying the bills and such. And maybe I should preface all of this by saying that I didn't get into reselling just for the fun of it. I got into reselling because, yes, it seemed like a very accessible side hustle and one that I thought I would enjoy doing. And for the most part, I do. But also because I needed the money. I needed to make more than what my full-time job was paying. And that portion of it has not changed. So given that this year I am now a single parent and taking care of my kid by myself, making extra money on top of my salary is definitely an important aspect of my business. And also the fact that I moved to New Jersey, where things tend to be a little bit more expensive, starting with rent and such, also had an effect on that. So $10,500 is, great in terms of, yes, it definitely helped me out this year. But looking at what I made last year and the year before, it's not. It's really not. My first year reselling, I honestly don't remember how much I made in total, but it was probably around the same, maybe a little bit less. But last year in reselling, I made $17,000 and some change. I don't have the exact number right now. So my goal, obviously, for this year was to make more than I did in 2021, and that has failed miserably. I mean, I made more than half, but I didn't even make what I made last year. So that part is really frustrating to me. And just for comparison purposes, let's just take a look at, the platform that I have considered for the longest time, my main platform, Poshmark, and how Poshmark has performed for me over the years. Back in 2020, my net profits just on Poshmark, which at the time was definitely my main platform. I had started cross-listing to Mercari and eBay, but my stores there were not quite as built out as they are now. So in 2020, my net profit on Poshmark, again, before deducting my cost of goods, was $9,512, which was pretty good for my first year. I was really happy with that. Granted, 2020 was a good year to start reselling. Everybody was sitting at home. Everybody was shopping online. Nobody could go anywhere. And people started getting that stimulus money. And that still applied to 2021 when people were still at home and still shopping online and slowly started going places again. But for the most part, 2021 was still a good year in reselling, I think, overall, for a lot of people that I know. So in 2021, just on Poshmark alone, my net earnings, again, before subtracting my cost of goods, was $15,974. So almost twice as much as I made in 2020. So 2021 was really strong for me, really good year. And I had kind of hoped that in 2022, maybe I would hit that $20,000 mark for my net profit on Poshmark. Again, not considering cost of goods, because Poshmark's statistics here don't factor that in. Of course, I have that information in Vendu now for this past year, but I didn't use Vendu in 2020 and 2021. And honestly, my spreadsheets for those years kind of suck. But anyway, so we went from 9,500 to 15,900, almost 16,000 in 2021. And then this year, again, on Poshmark alone, and now Poshmark is just one of many. Back in 2020, it was my main platform. But still, in 2022, I made $7,173 on Poshmark. And I highly doubt that, tomorrow, I'm filming this on the 30th, I highly doubt that tomorrow on the 31st, people will just go crazy and shop my closet and spend like $3,000. That's likely not going to happen. If it did, it would be fantastic. But let's look at the numbers. I made less than half of what I made on Poshmark last year. So just on Poshmark alone, my profit went from close to 16,000 to just over 7,000. And that is pretty sobering, but I think it's also pretty telling when it comes to the way Poshmark has performed for a lot of people this year. I'm not trying to place the blame. Again, I haven't done quite as much as I did in the past. But looking at what I've done in the past, looking at what I've done this year, there should be more sales. I should not have made this few sales, and I should have made more money. I think what really happened with Poshmark, and we've all talked about this, and you all heard about this probably at this point, was they were messing with the algorithm, they were playing around, and they were playing around with our money and ultimately with their money. But of course, they're a big company. They don't care about me or you and how much we are selling. They care about their bottom line, and if they can get more people to the platform and sell their stuff for cheap, then they're still making bank. Good for them. The other thing that I think killed our sales on Poshmark, or my sales at least, were the live shows. And I'm not knocking the live shows. If that works for your business model, if that's your jam and you're doing great with it, that's awesome. That's great for you. I don't have access to the live shows yet. I cannot sell live yet. I did apply. I don't know if it is my thing, but I would probably utilize it every once in a while just to clear out some inventory for cheap. Because from what I've seen, most items don't go for much on these shows. So while you can clear out your closet and make a quick flip and make a quick small profit, it's still a lot of work for a very small return on your investment. Again, I'm sure there are shows where people get really great deals on designer items and the person selling still makes a really good profit. I'm sure they're out there. I honestly don't watch them as much because I rather focus on my own business. But I definitely noticed that with the start of the Posh shows, it's not just sales that have declined, but just activity in my closet in general. And I share it almost around the clock. Well, not me, but Flip does. And there's just not a lot of activity anymore. My feed used to be full of notifications about people sharing, liking, following, all that stuff. And most of my sales on Poshmark come from me sending offers to likers. So if people are not active in my closet and they're not liking things, I'm really not making that many sales. So I think it's really it's a trifecta. The algorithm got messed up, then they said they fixed it, but honestly, I don't really see that. And then they started introducing live shows, and that did it for me, combined with me not being able to put in as much work as I have in the past. Moving on from Poshmark, I did pretty well on eBay this year. I don't have my numbers all tallied up yet. I didn't pull that. But overall, I did much better on eBay this year than I did in previous years. There was a time, like a few months really, where eBay did better than Poshmark for me. And I was really happy about it. And I thought, okay, eBay and I were the new dream team. But then that also declined rapidly. So I don't know what's going on. Actually, I do know what's going on. It's the recession. People are not spending money. And especially in Q4, people are not spending as much money on pre-owned clothing or shoes and such. So I'm honestly not surprised. I do have new with tag items in my closet, but honestly, I mean, when was the last time you went out and bought an item of clothing as a gift for somebody? It's not something I do, but I'm happy for the hard goods sellers because they're killing it during the holiday season, especially if they have items for kids. Okay, so eBay, ups and downs. Mercari and Depop, they were just there. I made a few sales on there. I made a little bit of extra money, but they're really not a major player when it comes to my reselling businesses. I don't know if there are any other platforms I should be listing on. I tried Tradesy and then it got, taken over by Vestiaire. And now Vestiaire has some of my stuff listed and they keep telling me to drop my prices to like $35. And I'm like, no. So I don't know if that's going to be a platform that even plays a role in my reselling business. But yeah, we'll see. Now, where do we go from here? What's the plan? Honestly, I don't have a clear-cut plan. I wish I could give you all the answers and tell you, this is what I'm going to do, and it's gonna give me amazing results, and you should do the same. I don't have those answers, but my plan is to try and be more consistent with my listing, with my relisting. I mean, that's the whole reason why I started the Relist and Relax, to connect with you guys, of course, but also just to stay accountable and get some work done. And honestly, the relisting is really quick and really easy. I use Vendu. It's super fast. If you've been to my Relist and Relax shows, you've seen that when I actually do a relist, at least. So I'm trying to figure out a way of incorporating that at different times throughout the day, like trying to put myself a little bit more on a schedule, maybe do a few relistings in the morning, just get up half an hour earlier. I don't know if that's going to work out, honestly, because again, my life is really stressful and I don't get a lot of sleep as it is. Being a single parent, it's hard. So, and I'm not here to tell you a sob story. It's just, that's the reality of what it is. I don't have support. So it's a one-woman show when it comes to parenting, when it comes to running this household, when it comes to the income, and when it comes to reselling. So it's a lot to handle for just one person. Again, I would like to try out maybe the live shows if Poshmark ever approves me. I don't know what email I should be looking for. I hope I didn't miss it because I tend to just delete Poshmark emails, but I feel like I would have noticed that. I applied maybe a month ago. I don't remember. So we'll see how that goes. I have no plans of joining Whatnot. If I am selling live, it would likely be on Poshmark, just within the platform where I feel sort of at home, even though we have our issues. And so that's how I plan on tackling my business. I will probably need to come up with some sort of schedule for my reselling business. Right now, I just squeeze it in whenever I can. And yes, that has sort of translated into a rough schedule, but it's really exhausting and just draining to always work after dark, like I am right now. I'm filming after my kid goes to bed. I do the bulk of my reselling work after he goes to bed, or I do it on the weekends, which is also not fair to him because it's like I'm always working. So I have no magic solution to that. I hope I can figure something out that works a little bit better for me, for my business, but most importantly, for my family. So if I figure out the magic formula, you guys will be the first to know. Now, moving on from my reselling sort of goals and recap for the year 2020, and if that's all you were interested in, then thank you so much for watching. I will talk a little bit about some personal goals and just life changes and such, just to wrap up this year. And those of you who have been around and who've been watching know that I do share quite a bit of my personal life, but not all the details. Not everything is going on my channel. I will never be a family vlogger, like I don't show my kid on YouTube and such, but I think I always bring a little bit of, my personal life into my videos, and I like to share some aspects, of course. So when it comes to my personal goals for 2023 and just what I want to do, I tried to think of a word for 2023 because people always say, Don't think of resolutions, just think of a word that's going to define your year. And I could never think of something when I tried to sit down and actually think of something. But then the other day, a word came to mind that I think will be my word for 2023, and that word is build. Not rebuild, it's just build. So what do I mean by that? Well, I want to build my business. I want to build my YouTube channel, which is part of my business, of course, and my life, so to speak. What do I mean by that? Well, let's back up a little bit to 2021. I think the year 2021 for me was really the year where, not to be dramatic, but my life kind of went up in flames a bit. And then I decided to run with it and just throw on some gasoline and just burn it all down. So that applies to, of course, my job and my career change that I made in 2021. It applies to my personal life because my child's father and I had a long overdue conversation and decided to no longer be together. And so ultimately that all led to me and my son moving to New Jersey for my job and relocating and just figuring out where to go from here. And I think at this time last year, aside from all the exhaustion, I was very fearful, but I was also very hopeful. And I thought, okay, so 2022 is going to be the year where I, rebuild my life and do all these amazing things and I'll be so happy. And of course, it's going to be hard, but we're going to figure it out. And I'm going to be in a much better place at the end of 2022. And I'm not saying I'm not on some level, but really, realistically speaking, I just have to tell 2021, December 2021, Veronika, nope. This is not how it works. This year was really all about, in hindsight, about surviving for me, just making it through without completely losing my mind, if we're going to be honest. And that's not a figure of speech, let me tell you that. So it's been incredibly difficult for me, and it's been getting more and more difficult, I feel like, the past few months, just managing it all, figuring it all out. And I'm not going to get into too many details, but I've had a really hard time with that. I've had a hard time with reselling, I've had a hard time with my channel, and I've had a hard time personally with some challenges. And so to think that, you can just change your entire life and just snap your fingers and yay, new year, I'm going to rebuild everything and it's going to be amazing. It's so unrealistic. There's so much stress and so many expectations and so much that you just don't know going into a huge life change like that. And if you're at a point in your life where that applies to you, then just let me tell you, please give yourself grace. It's whatever huge change you're making, it will affect your life, and it will affect your life for more than just a few days or a few hours. And so just give yourself that time and grace and don't expect too much out of yourself. I'm all for setting goals, I'm all for being ambitious, but there's just certain things you cannot rush. And rebuilding, quote unquote, rebuilding a life after a massive sort of shock to your system is really, really difficult. And so if all you did in 2022 or if all you're doing in 2023 is surviving, good for you. Good job. That's all you need to do sometimes. In many ways, 2022 was that for me. I survived. I don't think I did too great in many areas, but I'm still here, and I'm at that point where I'm like, okay, this was a really rough year, and even though you don't need, a New Year's celebration to start over or restart anything, I think it's a good opportunity and a good point in my life and a good time for me to focus and figure out what I want to do and where I want to go from here. So going back to my word for 2023, build, I'm kind of thinking of build as in build a life you love. And this is 100% a reference to Catherine Manning here on YouTube, whose slogan is create a life you love. And obviously create, she's a creator, etc., etc. For me, build a life I love has similar implications. So what I mean by that, of course, is that first and foremost, I want to take care of myself physically and mentally. I want to make sure I address the challenges I've been having, both when it comes to my mental health and my physical health, and that's all I'm going to say about that. And the same really goes for my child and challenges he's facing. He's 6 years old, but he is on the spectrum. He's not neurotypical. So there's certain things that I will need help with, that he will need help with going forward. So those are some things I want to focus on. I want to make sure that I do right by my child, of course. So I want both of us to just be in a good place mentally and physically, you know, as much as you can do that for a 6-year-old. And so to that end, I don't have any specific, you know, checklist of goals, things I want to accomplish. Yes, there are certain things that contribute to, you know, doing better mentally and physically that I have in mind. I'm not sharing all of those on my channel, but in general, it comes down to setting small goals and developing small habits and taking that day by day. So if I can do something consistently for a week, then I can do it consistently for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, etc. So that's really what I want to focus on, one thing at a time, nothing too crazy. I really do want to give myself grace to kind of get back to a point where I can say I'm happy, and I'm happy with what I'm doing, with what I'm achieving, and with the person I am, because I'm currently not. And that's just what it is. Mental health is a difficult topic to discuss, especially on YouTube. There are lots of creators that do a fantastic job talking about these topics. I'm not in that position yet. Maybe one day I will be. Maybe that's where my channel is going to go at some point. But for now, I will stick to the reselling. It's what I know, even though I don't do it well these days. But I think that's what most of you guys are here for anyway. If you stuck around for this second half of the video and for this last portion, I appreciate you so much. Just thank you for being here with me. Even if you're just here for the reselling content, I appreciate every single one of you. I appreciate everybody who has subscribed, everybody who has helped me get to 1,000 subscribers this year. It was a huge milestone for me to achieve on YouTube, to get monetized, and I look forward to doing more with my channel next year, and yeah, taking you guys along with me. So on that note, I will say have a happy 2023. I hope that anything that you set your mind to, any goals that you have, you will be able to achieve, or at least make progress towards them. Please take care of yourself. Please be kind to yourself, both to your mind and body. And I look forward to seeing you in the new year. Bis dann. Tschüss.